We're in for a controversial one today. Okay, so DC versus Marvel. This has been a debate that's been going on for years, almost 100 years in fact, because DC was first founded in 1934, which is only 5 years before Marvel in 39, but that's besides the point. The reason I'm telling you this is because people, like their readers and fans, have been putting them up against each other for so long that it's always like, you have to like DC or you have to like Marvel. But you can never like both, because, you know, why would you like both? What are you, stupid? Anyways, over that time, both companies became very successful, whether it's in their comic books, their TV shows, or their movies. If you honestly asked someone before the year 2000, before the first X-Men movie came out, or the first Raimi Spider-Man movie came out, if someone preferred Marvel or DC, I bet you a lot of people would have said DC. DC was just running better with comic books at the time, and they also had really good movies like Batman 1989 and Superman 1978, etc., like with their sequels and stuff. And Marvel had nothing, really. So it was like no comparison at the time. Also, Marvel went bankrupt back in the 90s and had to sell a lot of their assets, like the X-Men to Fox or Spider-Man to Sony. If you were to ask the same question today, if someone preferred DC or Marvel, you would think most people would say Marvel, right? Because of the MCU and like all the movies that have come out. So even if the comics don't really matter, it's about the movies, right? There's no doubt that the MCU has changed the way we look at cinema as a whole, but the way we look at superheroes and character development and just crossing movies together in general. Kevin Feige definitely had a plan all the way from Iron Man 1 to make this universe bigger, better, and just have a ton of superheroes in it and have everything be interconnected, whether it was a sequel or not a sequel. But there's the issue with Marvel at the moment. It just keeps getting bigger. Marvel Studios, as of today, have produced 38 different projects, 13 of which were in the last 18 months or in Phase 4. Marvel Studios' Phases 1 through 3 produce usually between 1 and 3 movies each year, and that was even a lot for people back then, to be honest with you. People at the time weren't really used to the idea of having so many movies that all connected to each other happening so fast. It was just kind of mind-boggling at the time. But now entering Phase 4 within the last 18 months, starting with WandaVision, there's just too much going on. Too many shows, too many movies, and you have to watch everything for anything to make sense. And it's kind of stressful for a lot of people. Whereas people weren't used to the whole 1 to 3 movies per year for Phases 1 to 3, or the Infinity Saga, as a lot of people are calling it now. This is just way more than honestly excusable. You can get people to get used to those 1 to 3 movies a year, but when you're pushing something out every like couple weeks, all year round, every year, it gets way too much, and people don't have time for this. And that's a huge problem with Marvel Phase 4, is that not only is there too much for people to watch and digest, but you're pushing out so many projects so fast, you're sacrificing quality for quantity. As I stated before, we've had 13 Marvel projects come out in the last 18 months, 7 of which are TV shows, and one of those TV shows is animated, which means it takes even extra long. When you have a ton of TV shows and an animated show to make, and you have to push them all out in like within 1 year or even less than that year, you don't have enough time to work on them and make them actually as good as the old movies were. Therefore, you sacrifice quality for quantity. People have complained in recent years that the new Marvel CGI does not look as good as it did back in 2008 with Iron Man, and it's not because the budget's gotten worse or the technology's gotten worse somehow. It's because there's a lack of time. People don't have time to make these projects anymore because they're just rushed out the door so fast that nothing looks good anymore. You can't blame the VFX artists because the CGI looks bad, because these are the same people that made it look so good back in the day. It's just they have like a half or even a third of the time to work on it, so they can't perfect it to make it look real. Therefore, it just always looks unfinished, not good, and goofy sometimes. Now, it's no secret that DC hasn't been doing well in recent years with their movies, but they have had a few hits like Aquaman or Wonder Woman, but honestly, like, that's really about it. The DC universe, where they tried to make everything like Marvel, is really lacking direction and has been for years, and they've been trying to catch up with Marvel this whole time, but it's just not working because they're trying to copy them rather than do something themselves. Or at least that's what they have been trying to do for years, but I think something's changing about that. With Marvel Studios choosing quantity over quality with Phase 4 and probably into future phases as well, you can definitely tell DC's taking more time with their projects to actually make them good and fleshed out and be great for theaters or TV depending on what the project is. Now you could just say that DC is taking a lot longer to push them out because they lack direction, which yeah, that could be true, and it probably is sort of true, but at the same time, even if that is the truth, the quality is still really good because they don't push things out so fast. If you can compare a movie like The Batman to a Marvel movie, a recent Marvel movie like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or Thor: Love and Thunder, you can definitely see a quality difference between The Batman and those Marvel movies. See, The Batman has been in production for years and it is stunning, it looks really good. But Thor: Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, even though they've, been in production for like a year or so, the VFX artists don't have a lot of time to work on them. Therefore, the movies just look weird and it doesn't really work. Now, it's been confirmed they're making a sequel for The Batman, and honestly, I don't know when to expect it or what to expect from it, but as long as it's a great movie, I don't really care how long I have to wait. Marvel thinks people can't wait for the next thing and that you need everything spoon-fed to you super fast, and that's just not the truth. We don't need so much, we just want good things. The reason I bring up that DC's changing from trying to compete with Marvel directly is the Batman and Joker movie, for example. They're both standalone movies that have made a lot of money, and they're both really, really good. I think DC is realizing that they don't need to make this big interconnected superhero universe, which they can still do, but having these little side projects that are just, I don't even know if I would consider them side projects, they're really good, but if they're just standalone, it doesn't force people to watch 8 other movies to get into it. Maybe if it's a sequel to watch like the one before it, but you don't have to watch all these other superhero movies to know what's happening in this one superhero movie. Therefore making the Batman and Joker really good and very different from the MCU. Now, even though I've been a bit harsh, don't think I hate Marvel Studios or the MCU or, that I'm a shill for DC, because really I'm not. I'm just stating what I think is obvious and what most of the audience is saying is obvious too. The Infinity Saga, phases 1 through 3, are really good and tell a great story with all these movies connecting with each other and building up to a climactic end. But with phase 4, it's just all over the place, and even if we get a sense of direction, there's just so much to watch. That's not to say I hate Phase 4 entirely. I love shows like Loki and Ms. Marvel, and I love the movies like Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, and especially Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, San Diego Comic-Con's coming up pretty quick here, and on July 23rd, Kevin Feige's going to be there at Hall H to announce some new Marvel projects, and same with on Disney Plus Day and at D23 in September. Now, I'm very excited for this because even though I am stating the problems, I still really like Marvel, and I'm excited to see what they do with the X-Men or the Fantastic Four or Deadpool or whatever. It's really cool. I'm not saying you shouldn't get excited for Marvel things, because you should. Some of the stuff is really good. It's just, I think especially the VFX artists, but along with other crew and people, just need more time to work on their projects. I think that's what's really wrong with Marvel, is they don't give people enough time to flesh out their projects. And if they did, they could be the best they could be. Because even right now when they're not, I still thoroughly enjoy a lot of the stuff they put out, even if some of it's a bit wonky because of a lack of quality over quantity. I'm personally excited for the future of Marvel and DC, like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and Captain America 4 and Aquaman 2 and The Flash, which, controversy, whatever. The Batman 2 and Shazam 2, Black Adam, whatever. It doesn't matter. They all look really good, some better than others, but the point still stands that I'm excited for both, and I like both. And even if Marvel is struggling right now with, their production, I'm still excited for them. And I'm excited for DC to show what they can do, flex their muscles a little bit. Maybe take over Marvel? I don't know. But I do think they're getting a little edge on them at the moment. Not an edge on what Marvel's doing, but an edge around, because they're kind of flanking them by doing something completely different, which is really working for them, in my opinion. Anyways, those are just my thoughts. There's a little rant, I guess, but I don't really have anything else to add to this video, so I guess like and subscribe, because, YouTube algorithm doesn't like people like me, and the only way to push my video out literally is to like and subscribe. I'm not trying to be here do it because, you know, no, literally, like, they don't show my video to other people unless people do that. I'm not even joking. That's just, the algorithm's broken. I hate it. Trust me, I'm not one to beg for this, but it's just honestly how it works. And if I have any chance of growing, you know, I would appreciate it if you did that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever that may be. I have no idea because honestly, this is just a rant. But okay, yeah, bye.